Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most kind, the most merciful. Alhamdulillah nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa na'udzu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. Man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlil fala hadiya lahu. Wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu wa anna Muhammadan sallallahu alayhi wa sallam abduhu wa rasuluhu. Verily, all praises is for Almighty Allah. We praise Him, we seek His assistance, and we ask for His forgiveness. And we seek refuge in Him from the evils of ourselves. Whoever Allah guides, none can misguide. Whoever Allah misguide, none can guide. And I bear witness that there is no deity other than Almighty Allah to be worshipped. And I bear witness that Prophet Muhammad is His messenger. Honorable and respective civic mayor, deputy and councillor, staff and member of the public, I greet you all with the peace and blessings of Islam. And I said, Assalamu alaikum. And I pray that this session is one of the constructive dialogue, sincerity, and prosperity. Almighty Allah said, Inna Allah la yugayyiru ma biqawmin hatta yugayyiru ma bi anfusihim wa isa arada Allah biqawmin su'an fala muradda lahu wa ma lahum min dunihi min walin. Indeed, Allah will not change the condition of a people until they change what is in themselves. And when Allah intends for a people healed, there's no repelling, and there's not for them beside Him any patron. Honorable members of Thameside Civic Mayor, Deputy, and everyone, let our meeting today reflect on how we can be better citizens, better politicians, better representative of our community in all our endeavors. The best teacher, they don't take every lesson in the same way. They're always wondering, how can we be better? How can we make improvement to our local areas and constituencies? And as people representative, how can we make positive changes, not only for ourselves, but for our families and our community, individually and collectively? Oh Almighty Allah, we pray for all those who live and work in this community. Give wisdom and strength to all who serve in local government here. Health, emergency services, education. We pray for children and young people and all who support and care for them. Oh Almighty Allah, we give you thanks for the elderly and children groups and uniform organizations. Help us to serve one another as you have served us. We pray for all who bow down with grief, fear, and sickness. Bring comfort and healing to all in need. Help us to show your love with open mind and open hand. We pray for peace in our troubled world, for Ukraine, for the region of Darfur in Sudan, and for the peace in the Middle East. God of love and life, ignite our heart with your love. Strengthen our heart in your services. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh wa airu da'wana and alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. And unite us in care for one another. Amen.
Thank you, Imam. Please be seated. Apologies for absence have been received from Councillor Choksey and Gwyn. Are there any other apologies? Thank you. As I begin my comments, it's my very sad duty to inform you of the sad loss of Basil Bealey, who represented Stalybridge South. As an elected member from 2006 to 2018, our deepest sympathies go to his family. November, of course, is a month of remembrance. I attended many ceremonies, including the Armistice Day silence at Duckinfield Town Hall and the civic service and wreath-laying service in Ashton. My deputy, Councillor Betty Affleck, attended most of the events in Hyde. I was also present at Mosley Hollins, Audenshaw, Droylsden and Waterloo. I also attended the dedication of Kingsman Sean Dawson Way in Stalybridge. Sean was a former Buckton Vale and Copley Academy pupil who lost his life when he was only 19 years old. His fellow soldiers at the Duke of Lancaster's raiment described him as a true Lion of England. It's good to know that his name will live on in the borough, fulfilling our pledge to honour our fallen ex-service personnel. As you would expect, it has been a busy time in the parlour, where I have entertained many people and groups that have been a source of pride for Tameside. These have included Patrick Cation, West Nenian and Rhys Lindsay, the Bryn crew that came to the aid of a stricken 84-year-old man in Mosley. I also entertained Peter Reku, who received an MBE in recognition of his tireless work for the Ukrainian community. And also members of Tameside Youth Council. We've got a couple at the back, welcome. And of course, Florence, a delightful child who suffers from a rare life-limiting condition, and her mum, who relentlessly raised funds for a better life for her. I wish them well. I also attended the very popular Fridays on the Square event in Ashton and the Stalybridge Street Fest. I attended the Judges' Procession in Manchester, marking the start of the legal year, where I was joined by the Chief Executive. Onward Home's Mental Health Awareness Day. I attended Tameside Rotary's fashion show and their 8th charity event. Also the opening of the community hub at Oasis Broadoak Academy in Ashton. In addition, I also enjoyed the amazing Ashton Awards, Diwali Festivals of Light, and also at 2 of our temples, and also the Mela celebrations. I attended ceremonies to mark Independence Day for Nigeria, Spain, Turkey, and many others. I would like to mention my attendance at Home Start's 25th year anniversary. Hush Hamdeed also celebrated their 25th year anniversary, and I was able to attend. St. John's Ambulance Awards, Diversity Matters Volunteer Celebration. Well done to you all. I also had the honour of opening the first African gallery outside of London, here in our very own Ashton. I'm so proud of my charity, West African Development, for setting this up. The heritage and history is phenomenal, and no doubt it will help educate many of us, our schools and our children. I would encourage a visit. So, the arrival of December means that Christmas is barely 3 weeks away. My personal favourite and my children's was a very popular lantern parade through the streets of Ashton. It was magical, colourful and spectacular family event which drew huge crowds. I took the opportunity to say a few words relaying the message of peace and community spirit, especially in the troubling and unsettling times we are in. Peace to them and peace to us all. I have also been to many light switch-ons and market fairs, including Hattersley, Stalybridge, and in my hometown of Mosley, both at the top and bottom in Micklehurst. It was also very moving to be at Willowwood Hospice's Lights of Love celebration. I love being there, and I would recommend a visit. Many of you know I'm a big advocate of children, and so over the last few months, in fact since my tenure, I have taken it upon myself to visit as many schools as I can. This has included recently visits to the Hayes Primary School, Godley Primary School, Greenside Primary School in Droylsden, Broad Oak Primary School, Buckton Vale Primary School, Mosley Hollins High School, Rainer Stevens in Duckenfield, also a nursery, Yellowdale Nursery in Hyde, and Tameside College. All the children are a delight, with their cheeky questions like, am I rich? No. Am I happy? Yes. After an inspirational talk with the children, a 14-year-old asked me, Miss, what do you think I should do when I'm older? Because like me, when I was 14, I had no idea. I responded, do not worry. You will go on your journey and opportunities will be created for you, but always ensure you go for the opportunities. I also visited Ashton Central Mosque for a Macmillan Cancer Support fundraiser. In conclusion, I would like to thank you all for your support, but especially my Deputy Mayor, Councillor Betty Affleck. It only remains for me to wish you all a very Merry Christmas, season's greetings, and a happy and hopefully peaceful New Year. I'm sure 2024 will be just as busy for me as I do my best to represent Tameside and its wonderful people. Thank you. I now hand you over to the Chair of Council Business, Councillor Joe Kitchen.
Members and officers.
We'll now go on to the council agenda. Agenda item 2 is the council's minutes. Councillor Cooney to move those. And seconded. Everybody happy that I sign those? Yeah, thank you. Agenda item 3, declarations of interest. You've all got forms in front of you. So, agenda item 4, communications of our announcements. Executive Leader. You're not talking, okay? Yeah.
Sorry. Oh, you'd have been happier there, wouldn't you? Confusing myself. Hang on a sec. I'm not crying, Chair, it's just that my eyes they get blurred, so before I start speaking. I know you are crying, John, yeah. Anyway, members and officers of the council, I welcome you to the final meeting of the full council for 23. Councillor Dickinson, Doreen Dickinson, the opposition leader, and I have agreed that at this seasonal time of peace and goodwill to all, we would like to see peace across the world, particularly in the Middle East and the Ukraine, and we have agreed there would be no further discussion on these issues at this meeting. This council is being held at the end of what has been another challenging and eventful year for Tameside and the country as a whole. In addition to ongoing cost of living crisis, over the last 12 months it has become very clear that the financial sustainability of the entire local government sector is now in serious jeopardy. In recent times, Croydon, Woking, Thurrock, Slough, Birmingham have all been forced to declare a Section 114 notice as a result of being unable to balance their budgets. It is unfortunately highly likely that other councils may join them in the months ahead. And it is for this reason that much of our focus for 2023 was on taking a hard look at how we deliver our vital services, in order to improve outcomes, manage demand, and make every single penny count. Tonight I want to briefly go through what this has meant in practice, covering both our achievements over the past year and the challenges we must address in the year to come. In common with other local authorities, one of our most responsibilities is ensuring that the elderly, vulnerable, are given the opportunity to live in dignity and comfort. This must be achieved in the face of an ageing population that is estimated by 2030 that the population of residents in Tameside aged 65 or over will have doubled from 15.59 to over 30%, and entrenched issues with poor health and outcomes in many of our communities. Healthy life expectancy in Tameside is 1.5 years below the England average for men and 5.7 years below for the average woman. There are also significant health inequalities driven by the socio-economic disadvantages within the borough, with residents in most deprived areas living nearly a decade less than other counterparts in the least deprived areas. Fulfilling our new adult social care obligation under the White Paper and new CQC inspection regime with similarities can maintain financial stability, we require radical and innovative approaches. Wherever possible, we will aim to make people the tools to manage their own health and well-being. But for those who require our dedicated support, we will focus on person-centred care and providing help at home wherever possible. This will keep choice, control, and the means to lead an independent life firmly in the hands of our service users. In order to make these ambitions a reality, in November we brought all our ongoing work together in a new adult social care strategy, laying out our key principles and priorities in a comprehensive strategic framework. These have been further complemented by a co-produced carers strategy and ageing well strategy. We have also directed substantial investment into the service itself, including recruiting 2 new heads of service, creating an entirely new service area focusing on safeguarding, quality and practice, and the development of a robust transformation programme coordinated and supported by a senior programme manager. For a number of years now, one of the most serious challenges the Council has faced is continuing our improvement journey in children's services. While significant progress has been made, we acknowledge that more needs to be done to bring these vital services up to the level our residents want and expect. We have to do this in the face of a significant demand that we have twice as many children in care than the national average, reflecting the poverty and neglect in our communities. A new management team put in place to deliver this, backed up by increased investment in the service, and to give one example, whereas most council services have remained relatively static since 2019, our workforce in children's services is nearly 10% bigger. This improvement effort is underpinned by our new Children and Young People's Plan, co-produced with young people and released in August 2023. The plan is based around our 4 overarching priorities: supporting families, healthy lives, positive lives, building skills for life. Actions have been developed around these 4 themes, with progress being reported to the Health and Wellbeing Board through a comprehensive annual review. Tameside is also one of the first local authorities in the country to establish a family hub and Best Start for Life offer. These form the cornerstone of our focus on early help, supporting children, young people and their families with the right intervention at the right time and the place to prevent issues from escalating. Another area of focus is managing the difficult transition from childhood to adulthood. Along with 2 other pilot schemes in Greater Manchester, we are implementing an adolescent framework to encourage a more cohesive partnership approach and co-locate services that respond to and reduce the risk of extrafamilial harm. These include youth justice, complex safeguarding, sexual health, and the first shift practice outside of London. The cost of placements impacted by high levels of inflation and demand still constitutes one of the biggest risks to the financial sustainability of children's services and local authorities as a whole. To address this, we aim to increase our rates of local foster recruitment and retention. This will not only reduce our reliance on more expensive placement options, it will also allow children in foster care to maintain valuable links within their communities, their families, friends and schools. Less than 4 years ago, the UK joined the rest of the world in fighting back against the outbreak of COVID-19. Despite the amount of lives lost to the pandemic, it could have been much worse but for the actions taken to protect the most vulnerable in our society. Unfortunately, as the pandemic has receded, the political will that accompanied that appears to have faded away too. When we ask today what is being done to protect the most vulnerable from the cost of living crisis, we are met with a silence. We saw this in Tameside all too clearly during the course of the Poverty Truth Commission. Over the course of a year, we heard firsthand the devastating accounts of residents in Tameside with lived experiences of bitter reality in poverty. For many of the least fortunate in our society, it is clear that the cost of living crisis has pushed them to the edge. and in some cases even beyond the edge of what is required for basic survival. In the absence of meaningful action at a national level, we have taken it upon ourselves to take action against the scourge of poverty locally. And in addition to the Poverty Truth Commission, at the start of this year, we launched a new anti-poverty strategy backed by the Comprehensive Needs Assessment. These documents bring together statistical data, residents' testimonies and other information to clearly lay out the challenges facing Tameside and what needs to be done to address them. In addition, we have joined a number of other councils across the country in voluntarily signing up for the socio-economic duty which compels us to deliver better outcomes for those experiencing poverty and other forms of socio-economic disadvantage. Hand in hand with this, strengthening our local economy to better deliver higher wage, higher quality employment, Tameside has the lowest proportion of living wage jobs in Greater Manchester. And our share of high productivity and knowledge-intensive sectors such as digital and creative and business and financial and professional services is poor compared to both the rest of the region and the whole of the country. Our ambitions have been articulated through our inclusive growth strategy. This sets out our framework around boosting our performance in key areas such as investment, employment, skills, production, transport, place, and is designed to work in align with the wider Greater Manchester priorities, such as places for everyone, the GM Local Industrial Strategy for 2040 Transport Plan, and the Digital Strategy. Furthermore, our desire to invest in our town centres and wider public realm, transforming them into local economic centres fit for the 21st century, remains unwavering. Following our submission to our planning application for Godley Green Garden Village, the Secretary of State is satisfied that it does not require calling in for a further consideration. Our plans for Godley Green will now move ahead, providing over 2,000 homes and associated infrastructure for generations of future Tameside residents to come. We've also heard the news in recent days that Destination Denton project, which aims to regenerate and promote the town's hospitality sector, has been provisionally awarded almost £17 million in the Levelling Up funding. This is in addition to money that has already been allocated from previous rounds of Levelling Up Fund and other sources to infrastructure programmes such as the Ashton Mayoral Development Zone, Stalybridge Heritage Action Zone. Investment in our town centres and infrastructure is all well and good, but we know that it will count for little unless our residents feel that Tameside is a safe, welcoming and tolerant place for them. We've listened to the residents and businesses, both on the doorstep and through the council-run surveys. They've told us that getting a grip of antisocial behaviour was a priority for them. We're in the process of finalising a new antisocial behaviour policy that will sit alongside our existing community safety strategy and our overarching enforcement strategy, which is and currently will be developed. Overseen by a strong community safety partnership, I am confident that we will have the tools at our disposal to stamp out this blight on our communities. Another important part of making sure Tameside is truly a place for everyone is accounting for and taking action against the social, economic and health inequalities that many of our residents face. To give just one example, disabled residents in Tameside still find it more difficult to find employment than their non-disabled counterparts, with the disability employment gap standing at 29.1 as of 2022. To that end, the Council has refreshed its equality strategy, including a review of the adopted protected characteristics, our equalities impact assessment process, and a specific look at how we record equality data in services and systems. It is our hope that, and when fully rolled out, this will give every resident the confidence that our particular circumstances and characteristics will be considered and respected in the service delivery. Last but by no means least, in February 2020, the Council formally declared a climate emergency and committed to reducing the borough's carbon impact to net zero by 2038, 12 years ahead of the UK's government statement of 2050. We knew at the time that this was an ambitious target, but still then we have successfully developed both a local energy plan, a local climate and environment strategy and an action plan. This has been backed up with grant money through the public sector decarbonisation scheme to reduce the carbon footprint on 18 buildings in Tameside. However, more resources will be necessary if we are to meet our goals, and through the next year we will be constantly on the lookout for any grants, investments and funding that will help us take the fight to the climate crisis locally. All this means that, while we cannot be complacent about the difficulties in front of us, we can nevertheless step forward to 2024 with confidence and purpose. We must carefully balance investment in services where needed with ensuring that they remain sustainable in the most hostile financial environment ever faced by local government. This has required the difficult decisions at times and will likely require more in the future. But if we are to be clear in our goals and priorities, we will be able to justify them to our residents and ourselves. We are in a position to address once and for all the long-standing challenges in our children's services embedded in a transformational approach in how service users in adult social care receive and interact with support. We are lining up the investment and planning to make our town centres the beating hearts of our communities once again, and fundamentally tackle the social economic inequalities that have for too long driven poverty, deprivation and the need in our borough. We have laid out the foundations for 2023, and in 2024 we must begin the process of building upon them a new Tameside, a better and fairer Tameside, and a Tameside that we will be proud to call our home. Thanks everyone, thanks very much.
Thank you. We'll now move on to agenda item 5, the Council's big conversation. There are no questions. Agenda item 6, meeting of Executive Cabinet, held on the 25th of October and 22nd of November. Are those moved?
Move them, Chair.
Second those, Chair.
Any questions or comments? Yeah. Councillor Dickinson.
Thank you, Chairman. Executive Cabinet, 25th of October, item 65. I get that energy bills have gone up, but cutting street lighting is, in my view, not a solution for saving. It is a false economy because it could cost more in the long run. The Council is going to spend £284,200 this year to adapt the light columns, so no savings at all until 26-27. It was only last week we had a White Ribbon Members Development, violence against women and girls. My granddaughter is 20. I always say as she is going out, stick to the well-lit main roads. That will mean nothing now. Millions have been spent on safer walking and cycling routes. What for, if we are dimming the lights to save money in 3 years? Police say when you're going out, light your house up because the burglar will go for the one with no lights. Well, the same goes for any person that is in their mind to attack, rape a woman, rob or attack men or women as they are passing. It's more unlikely that they will do it on a well-lit main road. It's more likely on a bad-lit one. So I really think the Council should reconsider this saving scheme and think in broad terms what it will mean to people's safety. Thank you, Chairman.
Councillor Billington.
Thank you. Well, what a speech from the executive leader. It's like Councillor Warrington never finished a term as leader. We got all the long speeches back, but I'll be quick with mine. So, in terms of strategic capital monitoring, we have, as always, an outrun on that. But I am told that today, that a very senior member of the growth team has put their notice in due to blockages within the system, which has meant that £10 million of brownfield funding has not got redeveloped. I am getting concerned about the turnover of staff within the council. What is the executive leader going to do to address that? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to reiterate what Councillor Dickinson said about safety, and I'd just like to add a bit regarding suicide prevention. Last year I wrote to our MP with regards to the lighting over Halton Street in Hyde. And after a follow-up recently, I was told that this was going to go ahead. In the interest of suicide prevention, can you confirm that the works will still be going ahead? And will we have lights over the motorway bridge on Halton Street? Thank you.
Councillor Fitzpatrick.
Thank you, Chair. I rise on minute 61 of the executive minutes of 25th of October. And it's the capital programme was forecasting an underspending year with subsequent reprofiling of budgets to future years of 12 million. This was due to programme rephasing of major projects including Godley Green and Hawthorns. The following week, as the leader has said, Godley Green got planning permission. That planning permission was a document over a number of months, and this is the document, Chair. 300 pages of a planning application for Godley Green. I'd like to thank the officers who put that document together. It's a well-balanced document and it outlines fully what Godley Green will actually mean. Now, Godley Green will mean that we'll have a mixed development, residential-led, of dwellings, a local centre, sports facilities and a new bridge connecting to Hattersley railway station. Marvellous development. A lot of the objections were that the fact that this wide open green space, well used by local residents, in truth, 1% of that land was used by local residents. This development will open that land out for 50% of residents of Hyde to be able to use that land and help with their mental health for the sports facilities that are going on there. There's an ancient forest woodland on that site, and I would look to work with the Hyde Labour councillors to get protection for that forest, to make sure that we can, the Woodland Trust, so we can look after that forest for future years. And also there's sites of scientific importance on that site that we will also protect as well. So it is a major development for the Hyde area, and what I would like to ask the executive member, in future years' budgets, and the fact that in minute 62 of these same minutes, it says that we've made cuts since 2010 of £180 million to Tameside Council's budget, how this will benefit the people of Tameside. Because we all know by protecting this site and approving this development, that protects the other greenbelt sites across Tameside. This is not just about Godley, this is the development for the whole of Tameside. So side bottom fold that was up was in Greenbelt, and a planning application likely to go in there will be protected because of this. This will protect Matley Lane from any further developments as well. So like I say, this development for the whole of Tameside, not just for Godley, and it will benefit the whole of Tameside. We've not met our housing targets for over 5 years, and this will do that, and it will bring in much needed revenue. But I mean, the Conservatives are well aware of this, because at the meeting in July 2021, they all voted for the places for everyone. In a name vote,
I'm well aware, but that's not a point of order.
Places
Carry on,
for everyone.
Fitzpatrick.
They voted in a name vote, Councillor Billington, Chadwick, Costello,
Councillor Dickinson, do you mind not
and Welch.
interrupting? If you wish to speak again, you can do. Councillor Fitzpatrick.
All voted for places for everyone. Now, the importance of places for everyone, it removed Godley Green from Greenbelt. And that was in that document, and if they would have read that document on the day, which I've no doubt they did, they would have been fully aware what they were voting for. So in 2021, the Conservative group in this council voted to remove Godley Green from Greenbelt. And that document was then And the minutes are quite important. If you read through the minutes of 2021, it quite clearly states that those minutes was to approve that document and send it to the Secretary of State for him to look through. And that's what we did. And that's what those minutes were about. So, like I say, minutes of the council are very important because they're a record of what we do in this council. Now, I'm aware that Councillor Colburn's going to write to Michael Gove personally to get him to remove this. She's got to be aware when she does that her 5 colleagues sat in this room voted for this, this development to come out of Greenbelt. And that's what this will mean. This will mean that it will help with our budgets going forward. It will be beneficial for the people of Tameside, and it's a 15-year development, and it's something that we do in this council. We look forward to make sure that we have developments to benefit our people going forward. So all the children at Alder School that had a huge, as you'd be aware, Chair, Alder School had a 3,000 petition to oppose that, and both of us have supported that development, and Alder School is a marvellous development, marvellous school, and our colleagues in Wordsworth and Godley send their children there. So it's a marvellous development. It will benefit the children of the future, same as Godley Green will be. So when those children come out of there, and in 15 years' time, when they're looking for a new house, there'll be some built at Godley Green, and it will benefit the whole of Tameside. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Reid.
October and minute 66, which is the UK Shared Prosperity Fund update. At our November scrutiny meeting, we had a fantastic meeting with the officers who gave us some wonderful details of the work the Inclusive Growth and Employment team are doing. They've delivered a scheme of in-work support, increasing pay, increasing skills, supporting people through redundancy, people starting their own businesses. It was fantastic to hear, and it's absolute credit to the officers and the people that have engaged with the service that these things are able to happen in the borough. It is a small project with limited funding, but let me tell you, it's one that is essential. And imagine what we could do in Tameside with a growth economy that worked for the whole country, following years and years of a Tory government and their misrule. We can do better than this, and I look forward to the day when we have a growth economy under a Labour government and projects like this are not a routine event. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Chadwick.
Thank you, Chair. Well, Councillor Fitzpatrick, that was as predictable as a toddler with chocolate around his face caught with his hand in a Quality Street tub. Let's just have a little history lesson, shall we?
Councillor Chadwick.
As you well know...
1 minute. What's the point of order?
In the Constitution that's coming forward, it's quite clear that there's certain standards of behaviour, and therefore in this chamber is not acceptable.
Call name.
Councillor Chadwick.
Thank you. I'll continue. Let's just have a little history lesson, shall we? As you well know, Councillor Fitzpatrick, there was a lot of confusion surrounding that vote you mentioned, as Councillor Dickinson had asked several times what we were actually voting for, as it wasn't made clear to our group. It was finally clarified by the now Chief Executive, who was the Borough Solicitor at the time. Because of that clarification, we all changed our stance and voted for it to go to consultation. Otherwise, had we not sought clarification, we would have inadvertently supported this council in destroying the Green Belt. You may have forgotten that little bit of factual information, Councillor Fitzpatrick, as you stepped down from this council after approximately 30 years. Not long after, you were then pictured in the Tameside Correspondent, overlooking the luscious green fields at Godley Green, which you and your colleagues want to decimate. How you can stand up and call out Councillor Colborne for standing up for something she believes in, as well as standing up for her residents, is quite frankly baffling. But no, as usual, you come to this chamber ranting and going red in the face like you're going to explode. It's Christmas in 20 days, calm down. How you can call anyone on this side of the chamber for representing their residents and ward is beyond me. I mean, seriously, On your Facebook page on the 1st of November, you wrote, "I don't normally respond to Councillor Chadwick's insults. I'm sorry, Councillor Fitzpatrick, but I'm a little confused. Am I right in saying you think it was an insult that I referred to you as Greenbelt Jim? Because you spoke in favour of destroying the Greenbelt at Godley Green at that planning meeting. Really? You think that's an insult? An insult, Councillor Fitzpatrick, would be you going on the Mayor of Tameside charity walk in September, representing the residents of Hyde Werneth, and think it was acceptable to wear a bucket hat with the words Tory scum written on it. By wearing that hat, you have called the majority of our residents in Hyde Werneth Tory scum. You do know that the majority of people who live in Hyde Werneth ward actually vote Conservative in the majority of local elections. Hyde Werneth, the ward that you are fortunate to have been elected in 3rd place in the all-out elections this year, elected to represent everyone in that ward, and you want to be re-elected in May. I mean, honestly. On that, Councillor Fitzpatrick, I think the next time you stand up in this chamber, you should apologise to the residents of Tameside who vote Conservative, but more importantly, apologise to our residents in our ward where you called the majority of them scum. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Robinson.
In disgrace.
I've never really supported a Conservative policy. But I must admit, I do support Village Green developments. And this one, and Michael Gove in particular, he's a star, sending it back as quick as he did. I did notice in today's LGA briefing, one of the councils in Outer London has just submitted a plan for 3,700 houses in a similar kind of development, including 3 primary schools. That's what we need in this country. Houses for our children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor. Leader. Yeah, respond, please.
Answer all them. Councillor North will answer anyone if they want in greater detail. But just a quick on the street lighting, Councillor Coburn and Councillor Dickinson. The point you raised, and we raised it actually at the committee as well, is that, you know, and as someone who goes running very early in the morning and in the dark, I know the importance of that. And I always say to people, make sure you run where you're seen, it's bright and everything else. And so that's exactly the same about feeling safe now. So one thing we did ask, is it below what is the legal requirement a light should be lit? And they said no. The guidance is it will not be below that. So it will be. You will not notice any difference whatsoever in that. That was asked at the question. I think even the press will have reported that as well, because it is important. The points you're making are relevant to all of us, and it's about anyone going out feeling safe. And you're right, lit streets and everything else are important, so you can be seen, and you feel, and when you're walking, you can see where you're walking, you see if there's anything about. So we wouldn't go below what is. And I actually, funny enough, I picked it up that quite a few authorities have actually done that. I think Bolton, I was picking up in the paper, they've done a similar thing this week. So what we are doing is to what is no less than what is legally required. And again, one of our biggest costs is energy, and we're changing them lights as well. That's important, but we you know, it's all about trying to save some money somewhere. We can resolve that if some central government gives us actually more money, and it gives us money for 2 things: one, to help pay for the energy bills, but also then is also reducing crime and anything else. And if the people believe that better street lighting does that, or stops accidents or whatever, then I would hope that the government would engage with us and across the whole, because we're not the only one doing this, but what no one will do is go below the minimum requirement. Regarding Halton Street, I don't know, Councillor Coburn, you've raised that, but I don't know what promise you made, but as I said, it's on the same light as that. But if there's anything I've missed on that, then please email me and I'll get back to you without a problem. And then the next one, Councillor Billington on the Grove team. Do you know, if someone's left, someone's left. That's life, you know what I mean? I don't, I wish them well. I don't know who's left. I know the director hasn't left and the other assistant directors haven't left and all them, but all I'll say is I wish them well, wherever they've gone. If they've gone to a new job, that's great. That won't deter from what we're doing. But people leave, local government, go off or retire, that's their business. But no one, I'm not sure, I'm not aware, and funny enough, I know I shouldn't have, but I WhatsApped the chief exec, has the director left or something? Yeah. And although we won't name anyone, none of them have left, so in that sense. But if someone leaves, that's their business. Regarding Councillor Fitzpatrick, well, he made a number of points there. I'm not going to go over all them. I didn't disagree with a single one of the points that he raised. Do you know, Godley Green will benefit the whole of Tameside, but more importantly, it will benefit Hyde. I think Councillor Naylor would say a bit more on than that, so I will leave that for Councillor Naylor. I don't want to stand on his toes, and congratulations and welcome to the role. I think Councillor Naylor, he's done a few telly appearances on that, and I know he was for the short period he's been heavily involved in that. So I think I'll actually leave that for him. Peter, Councillor Chadwick. Do you know, it's a name vote, whether we like it or not, and we know what we're voting on. Now, I had the feeling at the time that people didn't have a problem on the opposition side supporting it because it would go to a Tory minister. It had to go there. The reality is, Godley Green was never decided by our planning committee. Yeah, we passed it, we had to. But Godley Green was always going to go to the Tory minister for the yay or the nay. That's the reality of it, and everyone in this council and everyone around the country knew that, where it was going, because it was going to be called, and it had to be called in, quite rightly so. It wasn't the minister was just going to, I'll call it in, it had to be called in, that's the reality of it. And I didn't think, I'd met with the MP for Hyde, with the officers, and we were thinking it might take us about 6 months or more. They might do it tactically enough to May to come back to us. 6 days later, they'd come back. I don't think anyone even in your party weren't surprised at how quick the actual minister came back with that response. That was a bit of a surprise considering his government, but they made it. And that then now allows us to go ahead. But we were always waiting for that. And I think that, and quite rightly so, you may have held out a hope that if it goes to a Tory minister, they would be more susceptible to listen to what the points you were making and reject it. Well, they didn't, and that's for you. I know Councillor Colburn's writing to him again, but that's your business in that sense. To Peter Robinson, didn't say much, but I'll tell you what, very, very good, Peter, because we need to build homes for everyone. Every socially economic person in this borough, from social housing, affordable housing and private sector housing, big houses, small houses and whatever. We need more houses. When you've got a homeless crisis you've got now, then the only way you're going to do that is build houses. And Peter, someone just laughed a minute ago and said it was only small. It was the most telling point, Peter, and you were right. We need homes for everyone and we need them now. And that's how we're going to drive down our costing centre in local government, is actually being able to build them houses and house people who need them, the homeless. Because if you go, it's not that it's just those on the street. Go and see what the waiting lists are in those housing associations and anywhere else. The amount of people that are waiting for suitable accommodation. The amount of people that are becoming homeless because without a local housing allowance, and it's been frozen, going up, when the rents are now going up, they can't afford to stay where they are. So as I said, I wouldn't laugh at what you said, Peter, because it was the most telling thing here tonight. And you spoke about the community and the need for them. So well done, Peter. I think I've actually addressed everything. Councillor Naylor, will you respond a bit on Godley Green?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Leader, as well. I think first what I'll say is, in terms of Councillor Fitzpatrick, is I'd actually also like to commend Councillor McNally and the members of the planning team for conducting what I thought was a really good planning meeting when determining this application, and to the speakers as well, both Councillor Fitzpatrick in support, but also the objectors as well. There were some really good points made, and ultimately a conclusion came by the members, and it was then referred to the Secretary of State for final determination. And as the leader said, I think to get it back so quickly just shows the veracity of that decision, but also how strategically important it is for those housing, the housing in Tameside and beyond. Really, is that ultimately we're in a housing crisis, and I look forward now to going through the reserve matter stage for Godley Green and moving forward that. But what I will say is, of course, that as we go into that reserve matters phase, that we will continue working with the Hyde members and the people of Hyde to ensure that the application that comes forward is the very best it can be. And I know there's already quite a few members of the Hyde delegation that are speaking to me already, just to make sure that we are doing the very best we can. But ultimately, we do need more homes, and the economic benefits that will drive through for Hyde and also the whole of Tameside, but even further forward, even for East Manchester. It's such a strategically important site, 2,000 homes. And we talk about brownfield as well. I mean, I think that if we look at brownfield across Tameside, that's only going to get you about 6,000 homes. And that's if we build on every single piece of brownfield availability. Then you've got the viability questions in terms of urban infill for one, but also is the infrastructure there? Is it appropriate? So it's never an easy situation with any housing application to please everybody. But what I'm delighted at is that we are now moving forward with Godley Green. We're going to continue that consultation with residents and members alike, and we look forward to bringing that forward in 2024 for a quick decision. Finally, what I will say is that I think, yeah.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to me, yeah, thank you. I think what I wanted to say was, Councillor Billington, you got me running around quickly looking to make sure the director of place is still sat at the back, and thank God he is. So thank you very much.
Yeah, and the fair points that she raised, and thank you very much for that, Councillor Reid, on the UK SPS fund. Thank you.
Councillor Dickinson.
I do think you're getting, is the red light the correct one?
Red's the best.
Right, okay. I do think that you're getting a bit carried away with your homes, people, we need homes, we do need homes desperately. Rents are going up. People are being made homeless. We need social housing more than we need executive homes. Godley Green is 15% out of 2,150 houses social. The rest will be executive homes. My kids won't be able to afford them, I can tell you that now. So when we say, oh, it'll be wonderful and we're going to have all these houses, who and how many will afford them? People will come in, I'm not saying they won't, and people will buy them, but not the people that desperately need houses.
Councillor Cooney.
I would disagree. A single thing he's saying regarding social housing. I've now got the brief housing at the Combined Authority, and I was in a meeting yesterday, and I was talking to Paul Dennett, the Mayor of Salford, who's been a champion of social housing, but till a government, and it doesn't matter what party this is now, actually puts enough money up front to build social housing, all we're going to end up in most cases is affordable. And to me, in Tameside and in a lot of places, affordable is not affordable to most people. And I've been fortunate, I'm a carpenter by trade, some people say I don't know, but I was on large projects in Manchester many years ago when a Labour government were funding for over 5,000 houses in Harper Hay. We rebuilt Moss Side in Hume and places like that. And you also see the developments in Hattersley and all around them, the overspills that we have here, Horton Green and everything else. There is a desperate need for social housing. I'm critical of associations, and I'll make this clear. Over the last 20 years, they've moved social housing, when they become vacant, into affordable. And what they're saying is because they needed to do that, the investment. So I would like us actually to have a motion here, everyone, going forward. There is a housing crisis and councils have passed it. that we need funding to build social housing, not affordable, actually social housing. I'm an advocate for social housing, and I would wipe out this nonsense of affordable, because it's not really affordable. And I just think it's a pressure that puts on housing benefit systems and all sorts, but, you know, and those in work. And I think that if you do that, and it does need to be mixed though, I think where some of the failings of the past were the large municipal social housing estates, and when poverty, when deprivation, Margaret Thatcher's period and now or whatever, they seem to be hit worse when unemployment was high, jobs were going, and then places you saw the shops boarded up and it made it look worse. You look at how Hattersley now has regenerated itself. It's a fantastic vision. And I can remember working on Hattersley, and the Council North's worked on Hattersley at different times, when it was boarded up in a lot of cases. And I think that, you know, to bring in a bit of the private, it does need to be mixed. But I would welcome anyone, any motion, any campaign to build, give us the money to build social housing. And what I would also love is that that would be workers who were actually employed by the council doing it. But they're all big wishes, but I would hope one day we achieve that. So I don't disagree with what you're saying. I don't say that Godley Green will, but Godley Green will give us some funding. Hopefully that will allow some people to start putting on social housing, because someone there will be housing associations will be on there to a certain point, and let's hope that they, and I have a big disappointment with them, I don't have no bones about that, but in some of the associations, I do think, I'll better not say it here because I sit in front of most of them, but I will say it to them anyway. But I do think that they've moved away from what was social housing and local authority housing, the control over that, to remove the golden share, which was done under your own government. I think if you give us that back, it will have a democratic involvement on there, rather than best mates, cousins, best friends, aunties and uncles that all come from the housing profession. And I do think there needs to be a democratic involvement from the areas where they're based, because you find that now they're such large organisations re-merging and merging, although they're in areas and towns here and across the Greater Manchester and further afield, they don't actually have a relationship with the areas they're in. Whereas when we had stock and it was New Charter, whatever, it was all based here. But as they're growing and it's get bigger, the campaign now is to be bigger and bigger. I mean, I know Trafford is actually, it comes under London. You know, who actually controls housing in Trafford, and that's nonsense. So I would welcome it. I don't think I would disagree with any statements, and I know there's colleagues behind me, and Barry and whatever, been massive advocates for social housing. So we you know, and on others, but it comes down to Peter Robinson's point when people laughed. We need more houses to accommodate everyone. So it wasn't a funny point, it was a relevant point, Peter. And as I say, well done for making it.
Thank you. The minutes of the meetings of the 25th of October, 22nd of November have been moved and seconded. All those in favour of receiving the minutes? Those against? Thank you. We'll now move on to agenda item 7, meeting of the overview panel. Are they moved? Are they seconded? Thank you. Any questions or comments on them? Yeah.
So I'll just start off with, I don't understand what the clapping's all about tonight. Are some of you running for Parliament and that's what you...
We'll be clapping you.
Well, that's fine. That's fine, David. I know that. But I'll just go on to overview. And it does seem that the certain ground nosing from a certain someone has paid off. I'll just leave that there for now. But on overview, there was a review of the digitalisation strategy. And one of the things in there, in that digitalisation strategy, is that on customer services, they're going to be replaced with chatbots, AI chatbots. Now, it was only a couple of meetings ago that you're all kicking off in hysterics about ticket office closures and what that would bring about. But your council, this Labour council, is looking to replace staff with AI chatbots. You couldn't make it up. But I'm just going to go on to the more important thing, which is children's services. And there was a heated discussion at the overview panel about the meetings that have been held recently as a consequence of the changes in the directorate. And there was a meeting which was just after the new director was appointed. There was something that was said there. I'm led to believe the question was asked, do you feel that children are safe in this borough? The member of staff said no. That was then reported on, and a subsequent meeting was held to clarify those points. So I'm still looking at the council's website, and there's no minutes published for that meeting. I asked Councillor Bill Fairfowl about the question, what was said at the previous meeting, which required a subsequent meeting for the council to respond to. And the answer that I got was that there was misinformation put out by a third party. I asked him a number of times what that misinformation was. He refused to answer. I then had Councillor Fitzpatrick gaslighting, saying that this never happened. So I just think that with children's services, it's such an important issue. I'm not politicising it, as Councillor Fairfowl said last time. There is a genuine concern there. We do need to get this right. But if Councillor Fairfowl cannot take the scrutiny from members, as we're elected to do, then he should resign from his position. So I'd ask again, what is exactly the misinformation that was put out in that meeting in October that required you to have a subsequent meeting? Thank you.
Executive Leader.
You did ask the question, Councillor Billington, and quite rightly so, because I think we need, and at all times, challenge on how we perform in children's services and how we deliver children's services. I was in a meeting with an MP, and he had a different opinion what was said at the first scrutiny. It wasn't either of them. It was my decision, nothing to do with Councillor Fairfowl. He doesn't control the scrutiny, and it's right, neither the Cabinet vote who does it and who runs it, nor the agenda. So it's nothing to do with Councillor Fairfowl in that sense. I phoned the chair and said I want another meeting. It seems to be, and I did ask other people at the meeting what was said and wasn't said, were children safe or not safe, and I wanted that clarifying. Now, I would think that that was right on my part, because if people are unsure whether our children are safe or not, that needed to be clarified. I asked for that meeting. No one else, nothing to do with Councillor Fairfowl, because it was relayed back to me, fair enough, by an MP, in a meeting with the Director of Children and the Chief Exec. That meeting went ahead, and that's what I said. I didn't influence it. You can ask the Chair, the Vice Chair or whatever, didn't influence it. I said, go ahead and put that question directly to the Director. Didn't even coach the Director. Nothing to do with me. I'm not going to get involved in that. What I am going to get involved is, if a person believes, one person believes, a child isn't safe in this borough, then we need to know and do something about it. And I think that's my role as leader of this council. We are all corporate parents. It's your role, it's Bill's role, everyone else's role. It's the chair of the council, it's the mayor, it's everyone's role. And that's why also on that scrutiny we have the chair as a Labour and the opposition as the deputy. Quite rightly so, because I don't want it to be a political football. And you're right, and I accept what you're saying, Councillor Billington, and I do hold you true to that, is that children are too valuable to be used as a political tool and to be kicked about the place. They held that second meeting, and we referred to as, and I don't even know what the question was asked even at the second meeting, but what I do know is it come by from the chair and everyone present and the vice chair. They asked the same question, and I know people who were at the first, majority at the first, thought, why are we having, and your own member wouldn't disagree, why are we having the second meeting when it just reiterated what was said at the first? And what I'll say is, it's got nothing to do with Councillor Fairfowl. He wasn't involved in asking for it. It was me as the leader. If I think, or someone's rumouring, there's rumours going around that children aren't safe, I want to know. Because if they're not, then I've failed mine if I don't act on that. And that's why I acted on that. That was the only reason the second one went ahead, and the new director stood in front of them and answered that question. And everyone left that meeting satisfied with what she said. and that children are safe, that she's aware of. You can't cover for children you don't know, but children who are with us are safe. And that's important. And that was said there. So there wasn't any being trickery or anything being having to go at someone else. But I wanted that clarifying for me so that I can stand here and say that I've checked that out. Because quite rightly so, and I have no problem with the MP raising it, he's right to. He's right to, so I'm not criticising of that. But when it comes to me, do we either just sit back and not ignore that and say, no, I didn't, I won't, and I'll carry on doing what we're doing, is actually moving towards the places where we are. Children in this borough are well looked after and safe. But first of all, they're safe. That's what we've got to do. Because for too long, they were ignored when they knocked on people's doors across Greater Manchester and across the country. People didn't listen to them. And it's important that we're listening, and that's what I believe that we are, and we will continue to do so. So it was nothing to do with Councillor Fairfield, that's why I'm asking. But I welcome your question, because it needed clarifying in this arena, and on TV if it's on there, whatever it is, the digital side of the world. You know it better than me. But people understand that we care about the children, and that to us, everyone in here, that they're important, but they're not, and should never ever be a political football that we kick each other about with. That's all. Regarding your digital question, I ain't going to even try and answer that. Councillor North will answer that.
Councillor North.
Got the report in front of me, and it says the use of AI in the form of automated chatbots is being explored, as everything is across the country in terms of artificial intelligence. And I would like to welcome to tonight's meeting our new head of IT, who is sitting at the back. So it's not a question of we're going to replace it with that. We want to make our services as open to everybody as we can, whether it's in person, through chatbots, or any other form of digital improvement. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Rodby.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to assure Councillor Billington that we received the minutes from both of those meetings at the November scrutiny panel meeting, and we accepted them, and they are available as part of the publicly available pack. They are. We received them. Okay.
Thank you. All right, those have been moved and everything. Everybody happy to receive them? Yeah, thank you. Move on to agenda item 8, meeting of the Standards Committee. Are those moved? Yeah, I'll second those. Any questions or comments on them? No? You all happy to receive them? Yeah. Yes? Yes? Go on.
On the Standards Committee, on item 10, review of the Council's Constitution. And item 5A, Members' Code of Conduct. And it says that we're accepting the Code of Conduct that was approved in January this year. And I'd just like to point out what it says in the Members' Code of Conduct. That when we're debating, it's supposed to be in a robust but civil manner. You should not, however, subject individual groups or people or organisations to personal attack. I've had 2 personal attacks tonight, Chair. One from Councillor Billington saying I was brown-nosing, whatever that means. I think you did, Councillor Billington. You said Councillor Fitzpatrick. And
continue, Jem. We're not having this.
In this chamber, Councillor Billington, my name's Councillor Fitzpatrick. If we're going to conduct ourselves in a civil manner, maybe we should remember that, Councillor Billington. If we're going to approve these minutes, I hope that the conduct of the members over there, especially Councillor Chadwick, who regularly abuses me on Facebook, but not so much that, Chair. He sends emails at 11:45 at night, swearing at officers and shouting at officers.
Councillor
totally
Fitzpatrick, I'd prefer it if you did not mention that. That's been dealt with elsewhere.
Sorry, Chair, I withdraw
as you well
that.
know. Thank you. I'm now moving on because we've already approved those. agenda item 9, which was doing the Democratic Process Working Group. Yeah, moved and seconded. Yeah, thank you. Any questions or comments on them? No? Thank you. If you're all happy to receive them, we'll move on to agenda item 10, which is a constitution review, which is a regular item. Formally moved and seconded. Everybody okay with them? Yeah, thank you. We'll move on to agenda item 11, appointment of monitoring officer. Councillor Cooney.
Of Section 5 of the Local Government and Housing Act 1989, that Linda Constiff, Interim Borough Solicitor, Assistant Director, Legal Services, be appointed as the monitoring officer with immediate effect until permanent appointment is made to exercise the delegated functions and responsibilities of the Council's constitution. So move that, Chair. Linda has previously been the Council's Deputy Monitoring Officer and is at the back of the room. I hope I got your second name right, Linda. So we can welcome Linda as the new Monitoring Officer. Thank you, Linda.
Second that, Chair.
Thank you. Everybody okay with that? Thank you. We'll go on then to agenda item 12, membership of council bodies. Those have been circulated separately. They should be in front of you. Are those moved?
Yeah, move them, Chair.
Seconded. Everybody okay with them? Yeah, thank you. We'll move on to agenda item 13. Questions under Standing Order 17.2. I've received no questions. Agenda item 14, urgent items. They are none. So thank you for your attendance, and I wish you a happy Christmas and a happy New Year to you all.